Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I have finally found the time to sit down and film another video. I was moving, which is why I haven't uploaded a video in over 2 weeks. I had talked about my move a lot leading up to it, and it finally happened. So now I am in a different province, and it's my home province, so I'm really happy to be here. But I have just been unpacking everything and organizing everything and settling in. I also have been seeing family and friends, so and working, so I didn't have time to film. I kept thinking about it and about how long it had been, but I still didn't have the time to do it. But today is Saturday, and I have some stuff to do for sure, but I got up pretty early and I was in the mood to film, and I could prioritize that today, so that's what I'm starting my day off with, and I'm really happy to be back. It also is raining outside, like a crazy rainstorm that started last night here, and there's thunder and lightning and just really heavy rain. And I did take some nice videos of the rain that I might insert here for you guys. So this video is going to be a book video. I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in July, and I read 10 books in July, so it might be a long video, but I haven't been on here for so long that I might just ramble a bit first, so it might be even longer. Yes, so it is raining really hard right now, and I will also insert a video or a picture of Cleo because she's in the room with me, and she is on a little window seat that we bought for her, and she's enjoying the rain. She is so happy to be in this new spot. She, first of all, did great with the travel. Like, she was a perfect little angel. She slept pretty much the whole car ride. we had a long car ride for my move, and we stayed in a hotel for one night on the trip, and she went crazy in the hotel, but in the car she was really good and really quiet. She didn't meow, and she just slept really for the most part. But she really loves it here because she has somebody else to play with, and the apartment is bigger. But I think the main thing is there are a lot more windows, things for her to look at, because at my old place I was on the 7th floor of an apartment building, so she could see like the odd bird fly by, but it was much less frequent than here because we're on the ground, so she can see trees up close, she can see birds up close, anything else, squirrels, and there is a dog in the house next to us. Their backyard is next to a window that we have, so it's kind of weird because you can look out the window and see right into their backyard, which they use quite a bit. So that's a little, like, it's like a little downside of the place we're at, but they have a dog, they have a golden retriever, and so they go out in the backyard all the time, and Cleo gets so curious when the dog comes out, and she's not like that scared of it, she's more curious. And in general, Cleo is a kind of cat where she's not like very scared. She'll get scared sometimes, but like she's more curious than anything, and she's very brave, so she will stare at the dog, and I think she kind of wants to play with it, and she'll go up on the windowsill and she'll watch it. I don't think the dog has noticed her yet, but one day I think it will, and then we'll see what happens, because the dog, if it wanted to, it could go right up to the window and sniff her and stuff. And there is another house right here, actually, that you can see from this window where Cleo is right now. And the other day we discovered that there's a kitty in that house, and I don't know if it's a male or female, but I keep saying he sits in that windowsill of their place, and they can look at each other through their respective windows. And it was so funny because the night that they discovered each other, they just stared at each other for like 2 hours. So they were very interested in each other, and I'm sure the other cat's excited because obviously there wasn't a cat here before, and now there is. So it was actually sad though, because the next day Cleo came up on her perch again, and I think she was looking for him because she kept staring at the window. And he never came the whole day, so it was kind of sad, but funny. We joke that maybe, if it's a boy cat, that they have a crush on each other. So we call him her boyfriend. So yeah, I have a lot to update you guys on, I guess. Just with my move and everything. So yeah, I was way too busy to film. I just couldn't prioritize that. I needed to do so many other things. So YouTube had to go on the back burner, unfortunately. But I'm also realizing that I might not be able to film as frequently as I had once hoped. I'm not completely sure yet, but I really need to finish up my degree, and by the way, if you're wondering, like, how could I move provinces and not be done school yet, it's because I'm really close to being done, and my advisor, she recently moved as well. She moved to the States and she took a different job. And because she moved, and because I'm really close to finishing, and there's really no reason for me to need to be there physically, we decided that it's okay for me to move a little bit earlier than I first thought I would, and to finish up my degree completely remotely. So I'll just be meeting with people remotely when I need to. And yeah, that's one thing that we learned, like, in what I do through COVID, that we can do everything pretty much remotely. So sometimes, like in my case, it made more sense for me to just do everything remotely instead of being at the university in person, just because I'm so close and I didn't need to be there. But that being said, I still do have a lot to do to finish, so I'm gonna be working a lot, and just it's a big change for me, big transition. Being here and having more to do. Where I was, I really just worked, and it was much easier for me to film videos because I wasn't juggling anybody else's schedules or anything. But here I am, and here I have more going on socially. So I don't know. I'm gonna take it day by day and see how much I'm able to film. But I also imagine that once the summer is over, I might have more time to film. And it could just be a matter of getting into a routine and, like, maybe setting up specific nights that I'm going to film. Maybe once a week or twice a week. Yeah, I'm just rambling, thinking out loud here. But I'm really glad to be back. I really like talking about books, and I've missed it. But I've been forgetting to point something out. Obvious. I have a new background, obviously, because I moved. And I don't know. This is it for now. I have a proper bookshelf now, and I like it. It's pretty blue color. I have most of the books that I've read on this. Some of them I haven't still, but maybe 3 or 4 of them I haven't. There's more down here that you can't really see. But, I've got, it's a little prettier than it used to be. think got some nice lights. Trying to make things more aesthetic and atmospheric for ASMR. This is my favorite plant that I own. This is an angel wing. I think it's an angel wing. And I really like it. It has sort of like polka dots on it. And it moved with me and it's surviving. Actually, all of the plants that I moved are still alive, but I do think they need a little bit of extra TLC. But yeah, I got the plant. I have, I don't know, some other things hanging up. Actually, let me show you. And then this is Howl's Moving Castle poster, which is so cool, I think. And I have a little dream catcher and a little wind chimey thing. So these are from my childhood when I was a kid. And I just grabbed them from the house I grew up in the other day and decided to keep them. So, also please excuse my hair. It's looking a little disheveled and I don't know, it's just a mess. I washed it last night, but it already looks kind of greasy, and it's because where I am now is really, really humid, which I like in many ways. I actually like humidity because it helps my skin and like my hair feels healthy, but it kind of just like doesn't dry. But yeah, so I'm really happy that I'm back home and I'm loving it, and I am really ready to talk about books with you guys again. And as always, just to hopefully help you relax or zone out or fall asleep. Okay, so I actually read 10 books, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, a lot of those were on Kindle. I have not prepared for this video. I just sat down and started. So, I am going to try to jog my memory with each book. I do remember which book I read first, and that was Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And that is on my bookshelf. So it's Carrie Soto off of the sand, but I still have 2 here. Carrie Soto is back. So, this was a highly anticipated read for me. I had been meaning to read it for a long time. See, it's a real storm. Okay. So, as I was saying, hopefully I don't lose power. Okay. This book is, so I thought that I would like it because it's by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who I love, and because it is about an athlete. Carrie Soto is a tennis player. She is a professional tennis player, and I really like sports. Grew up playing sports, and I just thought that maybe I would resonate with it. Also, her dad in the book is her coach, and my dad coached me in a couple of different sports. So, that's crazy. I guys don't mind me leaving some of that in. That's not too loud. I really like it. Like, it's relaxing in a way. I love storms. Let me know if you like storms or not. Some people really do like me, but other people don't. I think they're fun and cool, and they make me feel cozy. Okay, let me talk about these books. So this is about Carrie Soto, who is a professional tennis player, and she competes in all of the, it's based in the 90s, I believe, and she competes in all of the big tournaments like Wimbledon and what's it called, the US Open, I think, and she is basically considered the best women's tennis player in the world before she retired. And when she's in retirement, she then finds out that there is a new tennis player, female tennis player, who is about to break one of her records, and just in general is threatening to sort of take the number one spot away from her. So that really threatens her. She basically, all of her life has been wrapped up in tennis and her self-worth, and she doesn't really have friendships or relationships other than with her dad, who's her coach. And her mom passed away when she was a kid, and tennis is just like the thing that keeps her going. And she can't handle this new girl. The idea of her being number one and not her. So she decides to come back, which is why the title is Carrie Soto is Back. And she comes back, and her dad comes back too with her to coach her. And she's in her 40s, I believe. And then you kind of follow like this comeback, and you're wondering, like, is she going to be able to compete again? Is she going to be able to keep up? Is she going to be able to compete and beat this new girl? And it is a really, really good book. I definitely was right that I would enjoy it. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. That's how much I liked it. And so the reasons I liked it are, obviously, I love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, and she is at her best in this book. And just so, like, you connect so much with the characters, and it's easy to read. It flows so nicely, and it is just the right pace. This is a really heartwarming story, because I don't read many stories that have to do with father-daughter dynamics. Like, in a good way. A lot of them they follow father-daughter relationships, but in a bad way. This is a good father-daughter relationship, and it's really sweet. And I mean, it's not 100%, like, there are some funny moments in this book, and it did make me laugh sometimes. The, like, banter between her and her dad, and there is a romance subplot, and I really liked that too. I actually would have enjoyed a little bit more of that, I think, but I still really liked it. And yeah, I won't give anything else away, because the fun in this book is like, with a lot of sports stories, you are wondering, like, are they gonna win this? Are they gonna lose? How are they going to take it if they lose? There's a lot of fun that way. And I don't know if there's anything else to say. It's really good. It's a really good book. I think you would like this if you like, you don't have to like sports, I don't think. Or, by the way, you don't need to know anything about tennis because they explain it in the book. But I think you would enjoy this if you like this author. But, if you like to read heartwarming stories sometimes, if you like to read books with a little bit of action and adrenaline, if you like to read about sort of if you want to read a book about dealing with it does deal a bit with like issues with being a female in sports and racism in sports. Deals with that a little bit, and it's really interesting. And I don't know, it's just if you it kind of feels like watching a sports movie. Yeah, feels like that. And this would make an excellent movie. I wonder if one day they'll do that. That'd be good. Okay. I still have 9 more books to talk about. So, that is Carrie Soto is Back. The next book I read, I think, was my first Alice Feeney book. I read it on Kindle, and it is called Rock, Paper, Scissors. It's a book that's really hyped up. It is, Alice Feeney is a thriller author. I think she only writes thrillers. And I don't know if Rock, Paper, Scissors, no, it's not. It's not her newest book, by any means, but I think it's one of her older ones. And it's really hyped up. And I had seen it around being recommended since I started reading again last year, and I had always meant to read it because people really hyped it up, and just in general really like Alice Feeney. And in particular, I wanted to read it because people were saying that there was a really good plot twist that they didn't see coming. And that's just something that I look for with a thriller. And I think a lot of people do. Like, you don't want to be able to guess what happens. And I finally went ahead and read it. And I actually read one other book by Alice Feeney later in the month, which I'll talk about later. But Rock, Paper, Scissors is about a couple who are not doing well. They're not happy together anymore, and they're struggling in their relationship, and they decide to go on a little, I think, weekend vacation, and they go to, I believe, Sweden for this vacation, and it's like in a little cottage. And first of all, I found this book a little bit hard to follow. And I'll just say right now, I really didn't like this book, and I didn't like the writing. I mean, I did. Like, the writing is, like, I'm sure anybody would read it and nobody would say that it's bad, that the writing is bad, but, like, it flows well. But I found it hard to follow, especially in the second half. And I don't know why this book is hyped up so much. I literally guessed what was gonna happen. I don't think I guessed exactly what was gonna happen, because it got confusing too, but the general twist I did guess, so I don't know why people say that they didn't guess it. Like, I'm not even good at guessing things, so I don't know what happened there, but because of that, I just didn't, or because of those things, I didn't like it, and yeah, I didn't finish the plot, explaining the plot too, but I don't think that it's that important, honestly, but I'll try to in case you want to read it. So they go to this cottage in Sweden or wherever, and so I just tried to look up the plot, and I can't even, like, wrap my head around explaining it. I'm sorry. I don't recommend the book, but let me know if you read it and you liked it, and why, maybe. But, I can't even remember anything. I remember liking the scene and the atmosphere of the book, and I remember, like, it had a distinctive feeling to it, so I liked that, but, otherwise, I didn't really like it as a thriller. Yeah, I think, like, it had an interesting ending, but I can't even remember exactly what it was, but I remember thinking it was kind of interesting. But yeah, I found it, like, easy to guess the plot twist. Whatever it was, I can't remember now. But that was Rock, Paper, Scissors. I gave it 3 stars, I think. But now that I'm talking, I'm like, maybe it's even lower. Okay, what did I read next? I read a very interesting book. I'm probably not going to say that much about it, because I rated it, I think, 2 stars, so it was not my favorite. It was a very weird experience reading this book. This is Credence by Penelope Douglas. So, I didn't know what to expect at all. I probably wouldn't have read it if I looked more into it in the beginning. Because there's just, like, some really... Basically, this book is, like, 50% smut. And it's really crazy stuff that happens. Just, like, because they're... okay, I'll tell you, like, the gist of it. Our main character, she... her parents die, and then her legal guardian is her uncle, but he's not really her uncle by blood. And he convinces her to move out to live with him and his 2 sons. and it's like in the mountains, like really rural. You know, it takes like an hour to drive to town, up in the mountains. And so it's really beautiful, and he feels like she might need this sort of seclusion. And he wants to like take care of her, and they don't really know each other though. Like, I don't think they really got to know each other before. But she moves there. She's sort of like, the hell with it. I don't know if I'll stay, but I'll just go here and live with him. And so she goes, and what happens is these men, so she's living with 3 men. She's living with the uncle and then his 2 sons. None of them are related by blood. But like still they're like family. They are very, they have a lot of the views where like men protect women and women need men to protect them and take care of them. They hunt for their food. They're almost like removed from society and like cavemen. Kind of. One of them, I won't tell you actually, but there's one very interesting aspect of one of the guys. I don't think many of you will read it if you haven't already, but just like if you're listening to me, because I don't really recommend the book. But like what happens is long story short, they all end up competing for her in a way. And there's a lot of sexual stuff that happens. If you don't like that, do not read this book, because it's like 50% that. And like I finished it and I was like, okay, like that was kind of like, I don't know, it did have some interesting serious stuff to say. And so I ended it and I was like, kind of weird, but I did kind of like it. But then I kept thinking about it and I was like, no, that was like way too messed up and weird. So I don't know, it's like, and apparently all of Penelope Douglas's books are kind of like that. So I don't plan on reading more of her books, but it was an experience. Yeah, I had been curious about that book for a while because I couldn't really understand what it was about, but people liked it. Like some people that I saw on TikTok liked it, and I'd heard people talk about it. But now I realize why people didn't like really explain it. Because it's like weird to explain. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to tell people it's pretty weird. And I would only read it if you're expecting that. And if you like that or anything. But I do want to be clear that it's not like incest. I think that's important to state. I think some people think it is, and like you could argue that it is, but like to me it's not incest, because they're not related. And because like she didn't know the guys beforehand, so it's not like they had this relationship beforehand that was like family. But I am curious of like why she decided to make them family at all, because she probably could have done something where they're not like considered family in any sense, you know? I don't know. So that was Credence. Then I think I read my first Allie Hazelwood book. So Allie Hazelwood is, if you don't know, a big romance author. He writes a lot of romances that have to do with I think academia and STEM. This one was her latest book. It is called Love Theoretically. Love Theoretically. This was such a good book. I gave this 5 stars. It is possibly my favorite romance that I've read. If not, then it's top 3. And it is, a lot of it is about academia and what it is like working in academia. Our main character is, what's her name? Elsie. She is an adjunct professor and she is struggling to get a tenure track position. She is in physics, and specifically theoretical physics. And that means that basically she works on theories. So she does more of like writing theories for like physics. And the guy in the book, Jack, he is a big time physicist, but he is an applied physicist. So they're like in 2 different areas of physics, but they're both physicists. And she gets an interview at this university where he works. And what happens is she goes to this interview and she realizes that this guy, Jack, he like had written this really huge article that critiqued theoretical physics, basically saying that like there's no point to it and it doesn't matter and all this stuff. And you find out later like why he did that, but he did it when he was younger and people know him for this. And when she finds out that this guy works at the university, she has this conflict where she's like, do I really want to work with this guy who like is trying to like hates what I do and wants to ruin my field and all this stuff. It's a lot of like, it deals with the politics that happen in academia, which I know very well, and just like how the hiring process works and how corrupt it is and all this stuff, and then just how hard it is to get a job in academia and all that stuff. And so she's not sure if she's gonna get this job because of this guy and all this stuff. And if you can't tell, they fall in love. And the relationship is just so good. Like, you really believe that they have this connection, and it's really funny. I really like Ellie Hazelwood's humor. I discovered in this book, because this was the first one of hers that I read, and they fall in love, and then I think, if I'm remembering right, yeah, there is like a third act conflict that happens, but other than that, like, it's a lot of them discovering each other and falling in love, and it's a happy book overall, but it also is just like, it's really accurate in the way it describes academia. So if you're interested in like that, I think I would read her books, but maybe especially this one, just because like I haven't read any of the other ones, so I don't know. But 5 stars for me. So good. It just made me feel really good. I really love both of the main characters and their relationship. And yeah, it's like made me laugh and feel good, and I resonated with it a lot. Also forgot one of the main things with the main character, Elsie, is that she is like a big people pleaser, and a lot of the book is Jack actually helping her deal with that and getting rid of those tendencies, which is really cool. So that is Love Theoretically. Definitely read this if you like romance at all. And we'll see, I might read some of her other books, but a lot of people say that they're all like the same, and I can't figure out if I should read other ones or not. Let me know if you have read any of her other books, and let me know if you have an opinion on that, like if you've read multiple of her books, if they are different enough. Okay. Then I read another thriller. I read The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This was my second, I think, Riley Sager book. The first one was The House Across the Lake, which I really liked, but I actually liked this one more. I gave this 5 stars. I had a really good reading month, actually, overall. I had some misses, but some really good ones. So this is, by the way, I have like a little pretty short video about this book, so maybe I won't go into a lot of detail with this book, but you can go watch that if you're interested. But this is like more of a gothic thriller. It feels very I don't know, like I think it would be a good book to read in the fall, but it's also good in the summer because it's based on the ocean. I think it's the Atlantic Ocean. I think it's like based in like Maine. It is about so there's this house, like super old house on a cliff by the ocean, and there's this tragedy that happens that happened in 1929, and what happened was a family that lives here was killed, and everyone thinks that it was one of the kids. What's her name? Lenora. So, like, she was 17 at the time, and just all evidence pointed to her doing it. And so she's accused of it, and then I don't think she's ever, like, arrested for it. I don't think they, like, had enough evidence for that. But everybody assumes that she did it. And everybody is, like, really scared of her because they think that she's a murderer. And she still lives at this house. And she grows old there, and she also becomes, like, basically, like, completely paralyzed. And she can't talk anymore. And so she needs, like, a caregiver. I think in the present, she's, like, I don't know if we ever find out her... Oh, okay. So it's based in the 80s, 1983. So she's, like, in her... okay, she's, like, in her 50s. So she's not as old as I thought, but she's, like, she needs a caregiver because she's paralyzed and stuff. And our main character, her name's Kit. She is a nurse. Or not a nurse, but like a caregiver. So she gets this job taking care of her, but she doesn't want to do it. She's basically forced into it because she was accused of, it's like the exact same situation as Lenora, because she is basically assumed to have killed her mom. And so her boss is like, if you want any job, you have to take this job, taking care of Lenora. So she does it, and because she's desperate. And so she goes and she lives in this house. And there are a couple of other people who live there who work in the house. There is a, like, housekeeper, like, she basically takes care of the whole house. And a cook. And then there's, like, this maintenance guy, too. And, yeah, it's, it actually reminds me of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which I have right here. Which, as you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, I love that book. And it actually reminded me a bit of that, just because of the scene and the, like, fact that it's in this, big mansion, on the cliff by the ocean. It's the same thing. And you're kind of just, like, the whole time trying to figure out, like, did Lenora Hope actually kill her family or not? Or was it, like, one of these other people who lived in the house? And yeah, it gets super twisty, and I couldn't guess anything, so it was really good. And the ending is really satisfying too. And yeah, it's awesome. I really love this book. It feels really, I like this one a little more than The House Across the Lake because there was some stuff in there that I felt was a little bit of a cop-out. But there's not anything like that in here. It all feels like, it just, like, really showcases how good of a thriller author he is. So, highly recommend The Only One Left. And it just feels, like, very, I don't know, like, it did what, Rock, Paper, Scissors did that I liked, where it feels very distinctive. Then the next 3 books that I read were on my Kindle. The next one was, it was another romance. It was my first country romance. It was called Done and Dusted. I forget the author's name, but by contrast to Love Theoretically, I didn't like this romance. I think I only gave this book 2 stars. I really didn't like it, because I just didn't feel like anything happened, and I didn't like the writing. I don't think it was very well written, in my opinion, and it just, I didn't connect to the characters, basically, or their relationship. The book is about our main character, who is a rider. She rides horses, and she grew up on this really big ranch, and she has an accident where she gets bucked off a horse, and she then decides to stop riding. She gets PTSD, and she can't ride horses anymore. She has this mental block when she tries to get on a horse, and she decides to move home. So she moves home to the ranch with all of her family. She has, I think, 2 brothers, and she's known in this town. I think it's a small town, and she's known as the really beautiful girl, popular girl. Everybody likes her and wants her, and the first night that she's there, she goes to this bar with her friend, and she runs into this guy that she knows from when she used to live there, who he never left home, and he now owns this bar too, and he's the love interest, and the conflict is he is scared to date her because of the brothers, because her brothers are really possessive, and he knows that they wouldn't want their friend, he's friends with them, they wouldn't want him to date her. So that is going on, and she's also dealing with this PTSD, and he helps her with that, and they fall in love, and then you're wondering if they're gonna end up together, and you're dealing with wondering how much of a problem the brothers are going to be, and that kind of stuff. So I feel there were parts of this book that I, in theory, would have liked, but just the execution I didn't like. I didn't like the writing. I don't think it was good writing, and that's why I only gave it 2 stars. It's too bad. I feel I will try some other similar books. The Chestnut Springs series everybody likes, which is a country romance series. I might try that soon, but I didn't like Done and Dusted. Then, yes, so next I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I read this on Kindle as well. So this is a fantasy. It is a duology. It is book 1 of a duology, and it is by Carrie Broadbent. This was my first book of hers, but I think she has another series or 2. And The Serpent and the Wings of Night is about this world where there are humans, but there are also vampires. And the vampires are similar to, like, in Twilight. They have really super strength and they're really good at fighting, and there's also some magic systems that they can tap into, and they kind of like are the superior over humans, and humans are sort of like disregarded and are like more poor and just like struggling, and our main character is a human, and she is found by a king, a vampire, and he finds her like in an alley or something, just like about to die basically, one night when she's a baby, and for some reason he connects with her, just like feels this pull towards her, I guess, and decides to save her and to raise her. So he kind of adopts her, and so she grows up as a human in this royalty basically, and is raised by the king, and he trains her as well to fight really well. So she is like this badass fighter, and she lives among these vampires, and she is always vigilant, like hyper vigilant, and because she knows that she could be killed basically really easily, even though she's a good fighter. She talks about how she feels really vulnerable as a human, because of course the vampires, like, they want to suck human blood, and that's what they prefer to eat. So she always feels scared. But the main thing that happens in the book is there is this competition that happens, I don't know, I think like every few years or like something like that, and it's this big event where there's this goddess who she hosts this competition, and whoever wins, and it's like to the death, so it's like whoever is the last one standing wins. So it's similar to like the Hunger Games. Whoever wins gets a wish granted by her. Anything you want, she will grant it. So I think you pronounce the main character's name Aurea. Maybe not, but she enters this competition as a human, and she's entering it because if she wins, then she will wish to be a vampire. And vampires are also immortal in this world. So she wants that, and she also wants to be a vampire so that she can do this thing, I forget what it's called, where you're like permanently bonded to another person, so she wants to be bonded to, like, her dad. And so this is why she's in this competition. And then she can just feel safe, and she can, be immortal and all this great stuff. So she enters this competition, and you follow that throughout most of the book, and you also run into a couple of other main characters, and there is a pretty significant romance subplot. It's not as significant as I thought it was going to be going in, because a lot of people talk about this as a fantasy romance book, but it's still pretty, like, a big part of it. And yeah, so I can't, like, as you can probably tell, I can't remember, like, all the little things about this book. That's partly because I read it almost a month ago, but also because I just loved not necessarily the fantasy stuff. Like, I got confused because, like, I just struggle with fantasy and keeping track of all the different terms that are thrown at you. But so, like, I didn't understand the politics part by the end, and I'm going to need to go back and figure that out, because I'm now reading the second book and I'm still a little confused. But it's one of those things where, like, I'm okay with it if I have other things to grab onto. Like, if I have the romance, then I'm okay. And if I just enjoy the characters, which I do. But this was the first fantasy, like, since Twilight, where I finished it and I was sad to be done, and I was excited to read the second one. I really, really loved The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I love the feeling that the book gives you. I love the characters. Like, it did a really good job of making you feel like you're inside Aura's head, and the romance was really good, and there's another, like, friendship kind of thing going on, which is good, which I actually would have enjoyed more of. And there's just, like, it's really interesting, and also the action parts that did happen, because there is some action, which I struggle with sometimes. I really liked it. I was pretty engaged in it. And yeah, what else? Actually, there was, like, the ending was really twisty. It's really good. I think there was, like, a twist in here that I didn't see coming, and it, like, happened at the very end of a chapter, and I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I think I might have said something out loud, which doesn't happen to me very often. So, highly recommend this as a fantasy book, and I'm only about 25% through the second book, so I don't know if I would recommend the second one yet, but we'll see soon. And yeah, just one of those books that, like, really hooked me in, and it was really fun and enjoyable. And I did give it 5 stars. So my plan is to figure out what's going on in the second book more, because I'm a little confused, and then to finish it. So yeah, that's The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Then I read the second Alice Feeney book that I mentioned earlier. I read Daisy Darker. So this was a mistake. I should have just learned that I don't like Alice Feeney from the first book I read. But I don't know, everybody loves her, so I was like, maybe it was just that book that I didn't like. So I tried this one. I think it's an older one of hers. It is about this girl, Daisy. She has multiple sisters, older sisters, and they're all named after different flowers. So there's Rose, Lily, I think that's it, and then Daisy. And basically, she was born with this heart condition, and I found this unrealistic, but everybody around her, like her family and everyone, called her broken, and like she got bullied basically, and like she felt like she wasn't wanted. And the only person that made her feel wanted was her grandmother. And the book takes place during this one night. It's her grandmother's 80th birthday, and her grandmother invites all of the family to come together for her birthday. And I think it's again, like some of the other books I've read, it's based on the water. In this house by the water where her grandmother lives. And her grandmother, she like went to this psychic or something when she was younger, and the psychic told her that her 80th birthday would be her last one, so she's like convinced that she's gonna die. And what happens is there is somebody found dead this night, and then everybody starts dying, and so it's a big like murder mystery, like who is committing all of these murders. And that's all I'll say. It tries to be really clever and twisty, but again, I got confused, but also there were some things in here that just like weren't impressive, like just like cop-outs, I think. So it's like, well, yeah, I could have guessed that was gonna happen if I had thought that you would go there. Which I just like didn't think that you would go there because it's so easy. So it's that kind of thing. So I really didn't like that book. I think I gave it 2 stars. And now I know that I don't like Alice Feeney, so I won't read any of her other books, I don't think. Yeah, so like so far, Riley Sager, I think, is my favorite thriller author. I think. Oh, no, I also like Frida McFadden. I read The Housemaid from her, and I also read another book of hers. Like, I finished 2 days ago, I think. So I'll talk about that in my August video, but I did really like that one too. So I like Frida McFadden, and I like Riley Sager. Those are the ones that I seem to like so far. Like the most. So that was Daisy Darker. Then I think I have 2 books left. I read Our Wives Under the Sea. This was a horror, and it is about a woman who is a marine biologist, and she has and she has to go on this project under the sea in a submarine with a couple of other marine biologists. And they're basically going under to do research. And this book was very timely because of the Titanic submarine accident. But basically that's what happens. But they are going down. But then the submarine stops working and they just sink to the bottom of the ocean. And then they are stuck there. So they don't, the submarine doesn't implode, but they can't get back up to the top. So they're just stuck there at the bottom of the ocean. So that's the horror element. That would be definitely a horrific situation. I think they're stuck there for months. And they do end up coming back up. The submarine starts working again and they can get up. And then the main thing going on in the book is she is totally different when she gets up to comes back, and she starts weird things start happening to her, physically. I won't tell you the details because that kind of takes the fun out of it if you read it, but it is dual point of view, so it's her and then it's her girlfriend, and she's dealing with her girlfriend is feeling like her girlfriend is completely lost, she's a totally different person, or not even a person anymore. And so it's a lot of dealing with grief in a way and loss, but also her mom died, so she's dealing with that loss. And it's a horror, but it didn't scare me. It's just sort of some weird creepy stuff happening, but it wasn't scary. But if you have a phobia of submarines or something, you might not like the book. It might be too much for you, but I will say I thought that it was going to be more horrific and graphic than it was. So I don't think it's that bad. And I don't know how I feel about this book, really. It's very different. It was very different from anything else I'd read. And I kind of liked that. I liked that it was weird. And I like anything that's based in the ocean. And so I liked it. I liked reading it in the summer. But there were parts of it where I wasn't super engaged, and I felt it was a little bit repetitive. So I don't know. It was and I haven't thought about it much since I read it, so I think I gave it 3 stars, and that's usually what I give a book if I'm not sure if I liked it or not. But yeah, I think that you'd like it if you a bit more weird stuff sometimes. It reminded me of The Shape of Water sometimes, if you know that movie. just certain things that happen. So if you like that kind of stuff, like dealing with underwater things, if submarines interest you, that kind of thing. And I do think, like, it had a lot of really interesting things to say, like, with the relationship. So I would recommend it ultimately, if any of that sounds interesting. So that was Our Wives Under the Sea. Okay, I think this is the last book that I read in July, and it was Elevation by Stephen King. This is a tiny book. It has 145 pages. No, 146 pages. Elevation. So, there's a really good used bookstore really close to me, so I've been going to that a lot, but I need to stop because I am going on a book buying ban. I don't need any more physical books right now. So, I'm not going back for a while, hopefully, but, I think I've gone a week or so now of not going and not buying books, but it's a really good bookstore, and so I'm really excited about that. Anyway, the first time I went, I found this, and it's a Stephen King book that I've been meaning to read, so I picked it up, and it's so short, so I just started reading it immediately, and I read it that day. And this is about, I'll read the back actually, because I haven't done that yet this video. Okay. Castle Rock is a small town where word gets around quickly. That's why Scott Carey wants to confide only in his friend, Dr. Bob Ellis, about his strange condition. He's losing weight without getting thinner, and the scales register the same whether he is in his clothes or out of them, no matter how heavy they are. Scott also has new neighbors who have opened a fine dining experience in town, although it's an experience being shunned by the locals. Deirdre McComb and her wife Missy Donaldson don't exactly conform to a lifestyle the community approves of, and now Scott seems trapped in a feud with the couple over their dogs dropping their business on his lawn. Missy may be warm and friendly, but Deirdre is as cold as ice. As the town prepares for its annual Thanksgiving 12K run, Scott begins to understand the prejudices the women face and tries to help. Unlikely alliances form, and the mystery of Scott's affliction brings out the best in people who have indulged the worst in themselves and others. So, he has this condition where, like, nobody knows what it is, but he only tells these girls and his doctor friend. But he's losing weight really fast, like a pound a day, and then it gets faster and faster. It gets to like 3 pounds a day. And he'll even like hold dumbbells or something in his hands and then step on the scale, but it'll still be the same. So it's like his body isn't responding to weight or gravity anymore. And basically he forms these friends, and he ends up just like, I won't say actually. The ending is cool. I don't really understand what the message of the book is, unfortunately. I think there's like a deeper message that it's trying to say, but I didn't grasp it. So I felt like it was just a fun little book. and I did like it. I gave it, I think, 4 stars, so I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know. It might be one that I reread one day, and maybe I would get more out of it and understand it. But it was actually similar to Our Wives Under the Sea, because there's like this weird stuff happening to a person, and I don't know, I do kind of like that. It's fun. Kind of like sci-fi stuff. So that was Elevation. I do recommend it. Like, it's so short that it's like, and it's Stephen King, so it's good writing. So I think those are all 10 of the books that I read in July. I hope I'm not missing any. I am impressed with myself that I read so much amidst everything. The long car ride helped during the move, and I've been reading every night and falling asleep with that. And I've been doing other long drives, I guess, where I'm just sitting in the passenger seat. So I read on my Kindle. And yeah, I found some new favorites. Love Theoretically. Carrie Soto was back. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So, and The Only One Left. So I think that it was a good reading month for sure. And I'm happy to have filmed a video finally. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you are still here. And if you're new here, please subscribe. If you like my voice maybe, or books, or the kind of books that I talked about. I hope that this video helped you relax or fall asleep, or just have something on in the background. And I hope to see you again soon.